You really gonna count down to
Hello,
25?
good morning. Welcome into another day of Good Morning NASDAQ. It is the 18th day of April 2024. I hope everyone is having a great week, a great day, a great morning. Wherever you're at in the world, let us know over in the Clover Trading YouTube chat. We'd be happy to call you out, say your name, say where you're from, say how you're doing, whatever you want. Ask a question, talk about tickers. That is your safe place where you can do anything you want. We already got Wayne in the room, Joseph, Jeff, Caveman. Um, yeah, welcome in, welcome in. Huddy is traveling again. He is in Arizona now. He's in his car again. I don't know where he's going to
The real
trade, but he's got to
question,
get somewhere for these gappers.
the real question is, have I stopped traveling since the last time you told me I was traveling?
Do you is what is traveling to you,
Being home is actually the vacation at this point. Traveling is being home.
You're always traveling.
Um, some thoughts for this morning. Really happy it's April. I feel like April is new beginnings, new seasons. Right now you can see outside is it's light out and it's 5:50 a.m., which is better than when it's not light out at 5:50
That's
a.m. on the
crazy.
West
That
Coast.
never happens in Michigan.
It's beautiful. So yeah, I like this time of year. It's kind of, I'm in Scottsdale right now, so that is kind of home for me. And the time zone kind of sucks this time of year, but other than that, we're feeling good. We got a lot of gappers today. I'd love to hear that.
Uh, we did a boot camp back in the day. If you remember, then HuddyandDom.com. We did a boot camp in Scottsdale. I think it was in April of 2022. And I
Yes.
remember because the market opened, it was a horrible because it wasn't daylight savings yet. It was right around that time. So market opened at 6.
Mm.
And we had to leave the house at like 5:15, 5:30, and the sun was coming up. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense
Well, half the
scientifically,
year
I
it
guess,
does.
geopolitically. But
Geopolitically, for sure, does make sense.
that's interesting. It wakes you up. If you're not in the mood, you will be once you see the sun. All right,
Yeah.
welcome in, everybody. Caveman says fear is dominating the all market like Sauron. Caveman, it's a little early for that. We got Wizza dropping. We'll talk
Sour bomb.
about Ratish in Toronto. It's like 5 hours from me. Eric says that never happens in New York either. Caveman says, you know what it is. It's rainy, cold. Wife, no good. I'm sorry. All right. We do have some gappers. We got some multi 100% gappers today. We had, what was yesterday? INVO that got as high as like 250% yesterday, beginning of the week. I think Eric was talking about it last night and why on Wednesday. We've had a lot of gappers fail over the past week and a half. We'll see if that trend continues. INVO, although it did squeeze out a lot of the day, did end up lower than it opened in the morning. Wizza failed all day before ripping into the close. Do we have a new trend on our hand? Are these gappers going to the moon? Let's talk about it. First one on the list is
Yeah.
TIRX. We have an insurance broker company called Tian Ruxang out of China.
Uh,
Um, red flag one. They were
yeah. The next
non-compliant
red flag.
23 days ago. Talk.
I was gonna say, then I didn't want to talk over you. Then the next red flag is that I see the market cap is quite low.
Market cap is 4.8 million.
I'm just checking the float.
All of their news that I see is basically that they're delinquent, that their minimum bid requirements not there, and this has been going on for months. And that's really all the news they have besides years ago when they were announcing some insurance stuff, incentive plans. But as of late, oh, here we got some in the last couple months. Sale and purchase agreement for licensed insurance broker in Hong Kong. It's all pretty much the same stuff. Says their overall risk is low. They are cash flow positive at 760K. It looks clean. Everything looks
It
clean.
does.
Taking a look over at daily chart for TIRX. Like to look at big volume days, see what the stock did, see what kind of movement it had, see what if there's any behavioral characteristics. Did okay volume earlier this year, but didn't really run a lot. Couldn't get quite towards $1. Some weak gaps and spikes going back at the end of last year, and then the biggest one coming on 56 million shares, where it kind of gapped up, did a crazy wick up like 100% before closing well below the open. And that's really all we're working with here. Further back we go, the more sad this chart gets. Huge
Yeah.
drop back in 2021. First thoughts. Any thoughts? Have a thought.
Yeah.
Penny for your thoughts.
First thoughts is insurance company, not the sexiest of businesses to be involved in. But what do I know about Chinese insurance companies? Nothing. Um, so that's my first thought. Second thought is I want to locate shares at some point today. Um, and third thought is this is probably a dog water ticker, but if they want to manipulate it, maybe there's manipulators behind here. I don't know. I mean, there's a chance. These Chinese tickers are always, worthy of being a little bit wary. Um, but again, like I feel like the ones that I'm always weary of the most is the ones that are trading no volume, like the ones that are super illiquid. That's where I start to think like you're getting into. I don't want to say you're getting into halt territory, but because I do think if TRX has enough has enough price movement, it will halt. Gapping up from this 40 cent area to a $1.50, it's not going to take a lot of movement, percent wise for this to just have a circuit breaker. So I think it'll halt, but I don't think like the unhalts are going to be like $1 per share down or up. Those are my thoughts.
Those are your thoughts? Yeah, it looks like it ran after hours yesterday from the 50-cent area all the way up towards $1.90. We've held just below that over the last 20 minutes or so. I'm just checking to see if there's any news on Yahoo Finance. Nope, 23 days ago is all I'm seeing. So kind of weird that it got going yesterday at after hours. I don't know if anything happened yesterday and after hours geopolitically. But I also saw that Holo was up today, so maybe something going on with China.
That's a good connection.
Just trying to freaking pull at straws, see what I can get. But that's TIRX. Not a lot to play off of on the daily chart. It is top left to bottom right. It is never even gotten close to the highs on that day in 2023. Yeah, got some resistance up here in the 210 area. And then it's kind of blue skies till we get to the next level of resistance. So far, volume is okay. Interesting. 26 mil on a $1.50 stock. Pretty good dollar volume so far. I think we'll learn a lot about the direction of gappers for today and tomorrow through a couple of these this morning. We'll go right to the next one now because there are quite a few. AGBA is the next one. AGBA. Those of us around town are calling it. This is out of Hong Kong as well. Let's connection number 2. They are a shell company is their industry. They had news 58 minutes ago that they are merging with Triller to create a $4 billion powerhouse, unleashing a game-changing power in digital content and financial services. That seems like fluff. No bit of professionalism there at all. They're creating a $4 billion powerhouse that they're going to tell you what they're doing. Earnings 20 days ago, and then a lot of Hong Kong stuff. 3 months of cash left. Public SPAC warrants at $11.50. What's the stock? It's a dollar stock as well. Not registered. Okay, so they're an acquisition company out of Hong Kong, creating a powerhouse. Looks like pretty similar. If I look at this day here, back here, 4/28/23, and I go to Turex, and that was days after TIRX did its crazy run. So there's some connection here between these stocks in terms of when they like to run. I believe that they are friends because this and crazy run back here in AGBA is very similar to the crazy run in the same time frame as TIRX, both gapping up today. News on AGBA is at least they have some, but it ran this morning, not after hours. So both out of Hong Kong, both similar price ranges. What do you make of that, Huddy?
I think you kind of nailed on the head with why are all these Chinese stocks up? That's kind of my first question here this morning. My second question is Visa Chinese?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No, United States
But
Semiconductor.
yeah, I can't tell you why these random Chinese stocks are gapping up like this. But usually these are horrible companies and predominantly probably scams. 32-cent stocks that are gapping up to $1.50 is never like a good price range to be gapping up from. But yeah, as far as like what do these companies do, and I have no idea.
Float wise, Agba is 18 mil. TRIRX is 2.3 mil. So both on the lower side. Well, Agba's a little bit higher, but 18 mil. Small market caps, low prices. Not a lot of history on the daily chart besides that big one wick. Let's see if there's anything more relevant on Agba. A little gap and crap. So small history
Yep,
of
and credit.
failure on, but that one big day, whatever happened in the end of April last year, they did go on some big runs before failing, but at the end of the day, they've really never held up, never gone on multi-day runs, never sustained themselves longer than a day. So that's kind of what I'm taking into the open. These are not stocks that I'm interested in buying up 200% plus on the day. It's definitely past my thresholds, past my interest level. And even when we talk about like INVO yesterday, I talk a lot about structure and wanting to be there, buying multi-week, multi-month, multi-year breakouts on charts that have some level of resistance that matter. I generally want to be doing that when they are up 50, 60, 80% up on the day into those levels, not, where you're drawing your lines in INVO. I know we didn't talk about this a lot yesterday because we had live trading, but, $2.50 and $3 were the levels all that I was thought would be imperative in interest. And they ended up holding through. The resistance held. The stocks couldn't go much higher, and it ultimately succumbed to the resistance and failed even lower. Now we're in the sub 150 range this morning, down 20%. So when I look
Yeah,
at
but
stuff like,
I think it succumbed to a repricing of warrants.
did it? It
Yeah, that's
succumbed.
what happened. That's why it crashed into close. I think some news came out.
Main lesson
They
there was
repriced
I'm
their
not
warrants from
interested in
250 to
buying
120.
those stocks at those levels.
Correct.
Um, and then these ones kind of fit into, there's no structure on the daily chart here, and they're just up too much for my interest. I'd rather sit back, wait. They go on multi-day runs. Maybe there's plays down the line. I always try to come from a perspective of let the stock do something before I get interested. And day one here, not a lot of long interest from me. All right, now moving into the
Yeah.
sub 100%. You got something to say? You got something to say? Say it.
I just I just think they're too I think they're scams. And that doesn't mean that scams can't run. I think the next like obvious place to go is Hollow. I don't know if you're gonna go there with that, but just because they're Chinese scams in my mind, like again, it's just my opinion. I really don't know anything about these companies other than Agba has a lot of insider ownership, which is kind of a red flag for me. Um, just because they're scam doesn't mean they can't spike first. And Hollow's a great example of that. Like, Hollow for 2 days was the best company in the world. And then, all the way back to the lows over the next 3 weeks or 2 months. So uh you just gotta be just gotta I think with anything, even with INVO yesterday, you just gotta manage the risk, right? You gotta have your idea, have your stop loss, and just adhere to them. Thank the heavens for stop losses, in my opinion,
Thank the heavens.
when dealing with these. Yeah, when dealing with these. I mean, these can be a little wonky, as we've seen.
Alrighty, you want to go to Holo? Holo's only up 44% right now, and the
We
daily
don't have
chart
to.
is quite uninteresting. But I would assume that that's why you're seeing any sort of gap up here is just because of, and it ran after hours yesterday as well. Um, there's some
I mean,
Hong Kong connection here.
I see one, two, three, four, five tickers on my gap scanner that are all, in my opinion, Chinese scams. So just some of them don't have enough gaps to even talk about, but they're up. They're up more than five
But
percent.
they're catching a little bit of that fire.
Uh huh.
The next one is SINT, but it's a 7-cent stock, and I don't want to talk about it. BPTH is the next one. That is up
That's an
this
oldie.
morning. That's out of the United States. It is an oldie. Let me see. Is that the one that was like 5 years ago? reverse split zone. But yeah, 2021.
Oh my
No,
God, SINT is
no.
seventh.
What? I was with Jack in Florida. It must have been 2019. This run back here that you can't even see on the chart anymore because of reverse splits.
When I went to 70.
Yeah, that's what that was. Yeah, that was when I
I
was
remember that.
just starting my degeneracy as a short seller. Um,
Hmm.
let's go to the tracker that dilutes. BPTH Biopath Holdings Biotech with a 750K float.
Oof.
Healthcare company, 3.9 million market cap. 2 hours ago, they announced successful completion of higher dose second cohort in phase 1/1B clinical trial of BP1002 in refractory relapse acute myeloid leukemia patients. So very early in their trials so far as a biotech. What have they been doing this whole time? They did reverse split 1 month ago. Reverse splits have been quite warm right now. We saw it with, I believe, WIZA and with CISS yesterday. That turned out to be a little bit of a ZM pump. Overall risk is high across the board here. They're running with negative 2.2 months of cash on a quarterly burn of 2.88 million. You see anything in the dilution that interests you, Jim?
Zimbabwe, I think with a float that low, it's going to be hard to find anything in dilution tracker that would like be monumentally change, like game changing.
They got 2
When you
million
have floats
left
at
on
250K,
a
like
April 2024 ATM.
okay, but I don't think you can dilute the full amount. Probably restricted to a certain amount. Probably, I don't know. I'd have to do research, but when floats are that low, it's hard for them to unlock the full dilution capabilities. You have restrictions.
Huh? What do you make of
Huh?
her here?
I'm going to dilution tracker. Is that what you want me to look at?
You say you gotta do research. Either do the research or skip over it and say daily chart wise, post split. So these are post split numbers here. Big run back in October of 2023. Gap up, small push, and then fade all day. Kind of broken daily chart here. You have moments where the stock's doing nothing. You have big gap downs, big gap ups, and then fade for the last 5 or 7 months. Obviously, an oldie. If you've been trading a long time, you remember this one. Has it been anything serious, like in terms to the upside, where we've had crazy runs in a couple years? Every volume day that I'm seeing is a giant gap and crap. So that's kind
Yeah.
of where my mind immediately goes here on a 65% gap. Not like too enticing, not like it's up a crazy amount today, but it would be a back burner, I think, for a lot of short sellers.
Yeah, this looks like a bag holder chart to me. It looks like that dilution is quite fresh, although not many shares. Um, Probably something that they're looking to use. I mean, they don't have a lot of cash. They've been, their stock is in the gutter and they're getting a good gap up here. So maybe a good opportunity for them to execute some of those shares. I know the March warrants are not registered. The ATM does look like not only have they tapped it a little bit, but there's still some more that they can tap. Um, I wouldn't want to long this setup.
Yeah, I don't really want to long any of these. I hate the idea of longing day one stuff. Only up 65% though, like I said. What's this gap back here? It is splits, but it was over 100%. We'll see. We'll see if the reverse split trend continues within the last month. They've done one. Yeah, we'll see if it gets going, gets running here. The other one's still up over 200%. They are. Yeah, not a lot to be talked about here. Tiny float though. Be aware of that on BPTH 750K. Definitely means it can move, can be a headache in either direction, whether you're long, whether you're short. These tiny floats have a way of getting anyone's stop to go off and then giving you a nice dosage of slippage, which is why
Hate the
I
slippage.
tend to just avoid them, especially on the long side. But with multiple big gappers on the day, it's tough to envision they all fail, especially after the trend kind of feels like it's shifting where something feels like it's going to go nuts at some point. Not sure where that is, and I am not a professional in terms of predicting which one can do that. You just got to go with the numbers, go with the stats, or sit back, sit on your hands, wait for charts to develop, wait for one of them, all of them, none of them to go on big runs, and then kind of assess the situation once you have more information. Hard to assess any information when you have 2 hours, 3 hours of price action all on pre-market volume. Which ones sustain that volume? Which ones continue higher? Which ones fade all the way? A lot of questions can be answered by just letting stocks live their lives in the morning. If that is your area of specialty and you love diving into those, like we talked to Eric last night on Wine Wednesday, he loves these gappers, loves to find the ones that he can trade the ranges on. Yeah, then you're going to be doing something entirely different. But for us looking for the meat of the move, very hard to predict that at 9:11 in the morning. Let's see if there's any questions. Wayne says they can't find that ticker. I don't know which one. Joel asks, can you explain your observations a little more with left to right daily charts and what they imply with day one gappers? I think they're asking about top left to bottom right.
Yes.
Talk to me.
It's just like a long-term downtrend, right? Like I don't really want to be buying stocks that have long-term downtrends. I want to see stocks that have uptrends, that are bullish, that have some kind of interest. And I just think when you're dealing with stocks that like continually like pop and then fade, it creates that top left to bottom right chart. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like you're just caked in bag holders. You're caked in people who have bought the pops and then the stock drops and they're, stuck in the stock. So like any movement up towards those prices, like there are sellers, there is overhead supply that is going to dwarf any potential of a move. So not the best charts to be like, I guess, overly patient with, in my opinion, or even buying in the first place.
One sec, I gotta sneeze. God bless me. Thank you guys for all the well wishes. Yeah, for me it's just a simple way of seeing whether or not a chart is strong or not. And coming off of 2020 and 2021, where a lot of small caps went on big moves way off their lows, you've just been seeing a very slow, decrepit fade off of those levels as the companies dilute at higher prices, as more people are holding bags from higher prices, and then new people are holding bags from lower prices than those highs, but they're still way higher than where the stock currently sits. It makes stocks a lot harder to run because you're fighting against all these extra variables on companies that are already not very strong, already have weak fundamentals, already don't have a lot going for them in terms of cash or product. And it just makes it very, very difficult for them to go on sustained moves, which is why you see, the biggest moves in the market on these 100, 200% gappers come from short squeezes, because it's situations where the floats are low, share counts are low, and people get rotated, people get tilted, and eventually, feels like every couple months you see a whole low. You see a stock go from 2 to 10, or from 5 to 20, or from 8 to 50. And, I think it's very hard to predict those. And I think that is definitely the minority. But when you're, and it's also shifted to when we see stocks that are either relatively flat over the past year or two to bottom left to top right, that represents a lot of strength. It represents a very few bag holders. It represents, I feel like in the last multiple years, I can't tell you last time I said the word blue skies breakout, because they just don't really happen anymore. But those are where I would be a lot more bullish, where the resistance is not there. The bag holders can't be there. And that makes it a lot easier for these stocks to run versus ones that are just buried in it and every single spike up. Like you even look at Holo today, like I don't even want to fathom every level that bag holders are sitting in from. When you go from 2 to 100, there's possibility that someone's sitting with shares at every dollar higher, and which is why you very rarely see these stocks come back from these depths, because there's so many factors going against them. All right. Chive said, Huddy, you're actually looking mad fresh today.
I appreciate that.
He's got his post-shower wet hair and black sweatshirt. What do you want from him?
I didn't shower, but
we'll give it to you.
Shower, but okay.
We'll give it to you. All right. To be honest, a little underwhelmed today by the amount of likes. Would appreciate with how many viewers we had today. We would have had at least 50. And I didn't catch it in time to really harass any of you. So tomorrow, Friday, wrapping up this week, I really expect everyone who's here today that's going to come tomorrow to really just show your appreciation by hitting that thumbs up button makes us feel good. Should make you feel good too, that you're making us appreciate you, and then everyone's just appreciating and being happy. And that's a great way to go into the market, with a nice emotional stability, a little bit of happiness, a little bit of love in our hearts.
Gratitude.
That's all we need. Yeah. Grateful for everyone. I'm grateful for you. I hope you're grateful for us. And we they go hand in hand. So thank you guys. Oh my gosh, we just doubled the like button. Marcus
That's
Aurelius
because you
once
said some
said,
really nice things there.
yeah, well, it's true. We appreciate you guys so much for being here every morning, spending your mornings with us on Good Morning NASDAQ. And we're going to head on over to clovertrade.io right now, over to the room, talk our last minute plans for the day, see what goes on with these gappers. If you want access to that 7-day, $7 trial, link in the description. If you want access to everything for a week. What were we going to say, Hudster?
Fun fact: this cup of coffee cost me $7.50.
So for cheaper than that cup of coffee, you can get access to Huddy, Kyle, myself. Kellogg's in there as well. Video lessons, webinars. There's a lot in there. You probably won't be able to get through it in 7 days, but you can at least see if it's something that interests you or not. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 8:45 a.m. right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for being here today, and we will see you first thing tomorrow morning. And all you Clovers will see you in like 12 seconds. Goodbye.